Chapter 1046. At the end of the fake mountain was a long flight of stairs. At the bottom of the stairs, there was a woman lying on the ground. There were large patches of blood under the woman. Shen Miao and the two servant girls stilled. They went forward to check and were shocked to find that the woman was Jing Fei. At this moment, Jing Fei was clutching her stomach, her face covered in sweat. Her face was as white as paper. She curled into a ball and moaned in pain. Shen Miao looked up and saw that the long flight of stairs had traces of being rubbed by someone. Obviously, Lu Jing had rolled down from this flight of stairs. Seeing Shen Miao, Lu Jing stretched out her hand with great effort and spat out two words, "Save me." Then she fainted. Octagonal Anise asked, "Madam, call someone over." Shen Miao frowned. She is after all pregnant with the dragon's seed. Moreover, if the matter of seeing someone die and not saving was spread out, the one who would suffer would only be the residents of Prince Rui. Even though she was not willing to get involved in these dirty matters, she was not willing to let the residents of Prince Rui bear a bad name. Octagonal Anise nodded and hurried out. Fennel looked around and shook her head. There's no one else here. They had long escaped. Shen Miao's eyes congealed. To be able to hurt people so openly in the palace, the other party's guts are not small. She then looked at the dying Jing Fei on the ground and sighed. Shen Miao had seen those women miscarry in the palace. With Jing Fei's appearance, one feared that the child in her stomach would not be able to be kept. Shen Miao did not sympathize with Lu Jing, but only felt pity for the unborn child. If it was not reincarnated into Lu Jing's stomach, how would it meet such a calamity at birth? Thinking of the child, Shen Miao suddenly thought of the youth's face that she saw in the forest. Her heart suddenly contracted. If that was really Fu Ming, why didn't you want to see her? If that wasn't Fu Ming, how could he have such an impression of Fu Ming? Shen Miao was thinking that there were only so many people coming and going in the palace. After the matter at Lu Jing's end was settled, she would ask Empress Xianda and Xie Jingxing to find that youth. She did not believe that it was an illusion. She was very clear-headed. The people that Ba Jiao called soon arrived and were shocked to see Jing Fei in such a state. Even though Emperor Yongle didn't seem to care about the pregnant Jing Fei was pregnant with Emperor Yongli's first child. Anyone with a discerning eye would be able to tell that the child would not be able to survive. Without saying much, these people quickly sent Jing Fei to Jinghua Palace. They called for the Grand Doctor and sent people to notify Emperor Yongle and Empress Xianda. Because Shen Miao was the first person to see Jing Fei, no matter if it was related to her or not, she could not escape responsibility and could not leave. Fennel was a little uneasy. The matters of the imperial family were the most complicated, especially when it involved the dragon race. The most difficult thing was to involve Shen Miao. Fennel even suspected that this was a conspiracy. Emperor Yongle and Empress Xianda quickly rushed over, but Shen Miao discovered that Xie Jingxing was not around and did not know where he went. She had wanted to talk to him about Fu Ming, but she could only give up now. When Emperor Yongle came, he only asked the surrounding people. At that time, Jing Fei didn't even have a maid by her side. Otherwise, she wouldn't have fallen down the stairs without anyone to support her. He could only ask Shen Miao for help. Empress Xianda frowned and asked, "Wasn't Jing Fei talking with Miss Yi in Jinghua Palace? Why did she go to the Imperial Garden? And where is Miss Yi?" She didn't suspect Shen Miao at all. Shen Miao was slightly surprised. Before she could speak, a short scream suddenly came from the room. Then, in the bedroom of Jinghua Palace, Jing Fei's maids ran out and knelt in front of Empress Xianda and Emperor Yongle, continuously kowtowing. The Grand Doctor walked out and wiped his sweat. He said in a low voice, "Emperor, this old subject is useless. Jing Fei has passed away." Chapter 1047. Everyone in the room was silent. Dead. The one who spoke was Empress Xianda. She said, "Why would Consort Jing die?" The old Grand Doctor bowed and said, "Ever since Consort Jing was pregnant, she had to take nourishment every day. This was already too much for the child, and her body was weak and vigorous. Today the fall was too heavy and the child could not be kept. Consort Jing was also overly frightened and lost too much blood, so Shen Miao did not know what she was feeling in her heart. Lu Jing was naturally stupid, but to die carrying the dragon seed that she was pregnant with, the future crown prince, was perhaps the biggest blow to her. This was perhaps the fatal reason for her excessive fear. Emperor Yong Li's face did not show any joy or anger. He was not happy because of this and did not feel pain. It was Empress Xianda who said in a deep voice, "Why would Consort Jing suddenly fall out of nowhere? Where did the palace maids beside her go?" The palace maids of Jinhua Palace quickly knelt down and said, "Previously, when Consort and young lady of the Yi family were talking in the palace, she suddenly mentioned going to the Imperial Gardens for a walk. Consort did not like to have these servants by her side, and these servants did not dare to disobey Consort's orders. It was just that young lady of the Lu family did not return, and Consort also did not return. When Consort saw Consort Jing again, it was Qin Wang Fei who sent her back. This Consort Jing's palace maid was as eloquent as Consort Jing and did not leave any traces of her guilt. But since something had happened to Consort Jing, the maids by her side could not escape the blame. Empress Xian did not suspect Shen Miao at all and immediately asked, "Where is young lady of the Yi family? Come, find young lady of the Yi family." As it concerned the imperial sons and grandsons, it was a big matter, and moreover it happened in the inner palace. Empress Xianda, as the ruler of the 6 palaces, naturally had to investigate thoroughly. Emperor Yong Lu did not speak and let Empress Xianda give the orders. From the time the matter happened till now, he did not reveal much emotions, making one unable to guess what he was thinking. Shen Miao was thinking about where Xie Jingxing went at such a crucial time, and at the same time, she was thinking about the possibility of things happening. If it was said that Yi Mei killed Lu Jing, there was no reason for this at all. Even if Yi Mei wanted to enter the palace and come here to pry information from Lu Jing's mouth, there was no need to kill her. Moreover, Yi Mei was not someone who would do it herself. Although she was ruthless, most of the time, she would instruct others to do it. In the end, she would get what she wanted without a speck of dust. Even if Yi Mei really wanted to kill Lu Jing, there was no need to use such a stupid method. Everyone knew that she went out with Jing Fei. If something happened to Jing Fei, wouldn't she be the first to be suspected? This made Shen Miao puzzled. The people of Jinghua Palace were all thinking about their own matters. Not long after, they heard the panicked voice of a woman behind them. "Jing Fei nyang 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 nyang." Shen Miao turned back to look and saw Yi Mei being brought in by a few guards. Her expression was somewhat flustered, and there was even more helplessness and disbelief. She took 2 steps forward and was stopped by Empress Xianda's guards. Empress Xianda looked at her and said coldly, "Where did Missy go? Why did you only come now? Before Jing Fei died, you went out with her to the Imperial Garden. Why did you disappear when something happened to Jing Fei?" These words were all aggressive and had the attitude of a punitive expedition. Empress Xianda usually looked calm and gentle, but at this moment, she had the demeanor of an empress. Her words made Yi Mei shrink back. Shen Miao looked at her coldly. Yi Mei lowered her head in disbelief and seemed to be recalling. She said, "This official's daughter was previously talking with Jing Fei Nyang Yang in Jinghua Palace. Jing Fei Nyang Yang said that the weather outside was cool and wanted to get some wind. Jing Fei Nyang Yang's palace maids also wanted to go, but Jing Fei Nyang Yang felt that it would be inconvenient if there were too many people. Moreover, it was only a walk in the Imperial Garden and there would not be any danger. With this official's daughter at the side, there was no need to use other people." Chapter 1048. Hearing this, everyone in the room had different expressions. Lu Jing originally had a proud personality, and because she was pregnant, it became even worse. Perhaps it was because Lu Jing saw Yi Mei's beauty and felt uncomfortable in her heart, or maybe it was because of some other reason, but in the end, she let Yi Mei go with them. Lu Jing wanted to order Yi Mei around like a maid, so she didn't call her palace maids in order to make things difficult for Yi Mei. This really was Jing Fei's personality. Afterwards, this subject and Jing Fei Nyang Yang were walking in the garden. Jing Fei Nyang Yang suddenly said it was a bit cold and wanted this subject to find a silk cloak for her. That cloak wasn't in Jinghua Palace, but in a scholar's little building. This official's daughter wasn't familiar with the roads in the palace and wasted a lot of time looking for the small building. When this official's daughter got the cloak, the Empress guards came and said that something had happened to Jing Fei. Yimei knelt down and said, when this subject left, Jing Fei Nyang was still fine. This subject really doesn't know what happened. She suddenly thought of something and said, if Nyang doesn't believe, you can send someone to find the talented person in the small building. She can testify for this subject. This subject went to find her to get the cloak at the time. This subject went to get the cloak. How could it have harmed Jing Fei Nyang? Empress Xianda frowned. Everyone was very clear of Jing Fei's personality. Outside, ordering Yimei to be a servant girl to get a cloak from far away, it really was in line with Jing Fei's usual methods. Empress Xianda said, Tao Gugu, take people to that noble small building and ask clearly. If they are lying, they will be heavily punished. Yimei hurriedly said, that noble's surname is Chao. Tao Gugu received the order and left. The room instantly sank into a stalemate. Yimei knelt on the ground, her frail body trembling, her face full of grievance. When she smiled, she was as charming as a kitten, able to captivate a person's soul. Right now, she was silently shedding tears as if she was frightened, but also delicate and pitiful. Her eyes were misty, and her shoulders trembled. She was like a kitten, making people feel pity for her and want to hold her in their arms. Her kneeling feet happened to be in a very delicate position. When Emperor Yong Lu lowered his head, he could see her beautiful side profile and her fragile figure. Empress Xianda saw all of this and curled up her lips with a faint smile. Shun Miao gasped in amazement and finally knew why she lost to Yimei in her previous lifetime. Even in this kind of urgent situation, Yimei still used her beauty to charm people's hearts without holding back. Shun Miao liked Fu Xiu Yi, so she silently paid and clumsily used her own precious things to exchange for him. As for Yimei, she liked a person. It should be said that Yimei wanted a person, which was to show off her most beautiful side, to make people pay for her, to exchange their most precious things for her. But Shun Miao glanced at Emperor Yong Lu. Yimei's plan would most likely fail, as Emperor Yong Lu did not even look at Yimei. The two brothers of the Xie family were like two iron plates. Beauty alone was probably not enough. Moreover, Emperor Yong Lu looked like he did not care about a woman's beauty as compared to Xie Jingxing. But before Annie Tao could arrive, the Lu family came. Both Lu Foreign and Master Lu came. The child in Consort Jing's stomach was gone, and Consort Jing was also gone. Other than Consort Jing herself, who had already passed away, the ones who were the most angry about this matter were the Lu family. Lu Jingchun aggressively brought Lu Foreign to Jinhua Palace. The palace servants did not stop them, and Emperor Yong Lu was also too lazy to stop them. When Lu Foreign came in, she sat on the ground and cried, lamenting her poor daughter. Shun Miao looked at Lu Foreign's actions like she was looking at a jumping clown. If she really loved her daughter, why would the first thing she did after entering the palace was not to see Lu Jing's corpse and see her daughter for the last time, but cry miserably in front of the emperor and empress? One feared that the love for her daughter was fake and the true love for the dragon seed in Lu Jing's stomach was the dragon seed. Chapter 1049. Lu Jingchun was born with a fiendish appearance. Now that he had a stern face and an aggressive appearance, he really looked like an evil spirit from hell. It made people vaguely feel that if it wasn't for the fact that the situation was not right, he would even commit regicide. He said, "Your Majesty, Jing and the dragon seed in her abdomen were poisoned, and this is not a small matter. This official had raised Jing to this age and hoped that your Majesty can be considerate of this official's love for his daughter and give this official an explanation." Shun Miao almost wanted to laugh. Looking at Lu Jingchun's words, it seemed that he was looking for Emperor Yong Lu to denounce him. Such an arrogant attitude. Was it really because he was Emperor Xiao Wu's confidant that he had such guts? One fear that he did not place Emperor Yongle in his eyes from the start and had a disloyal official's heart. His words and actions would also show disrespect to the emperor. Emperor Yongle lightly said, "The imperial son and imperial grandson are stirring up trouble." General Liu reminded Jun that it is unnecessary. Lu Jingchun choked. In the past, Emperor Yongle would always treat him politely, but now he did not give any face at all. He also knew that the imperial family had started to secretly deal with the Liu family. Originally, he thought that with consort Jing's pregnancy, the Liu family would have more chips, but who knew that the chicken was lost and the eggs were broken, so how could he not be flustered and exasperated? But he could no longer openly go against Emperor Yongle like in the past. That ignorant child had already become the emperor and had more means than he had imagined. The Liu family's power had declined. There was such a kind of person in the world who bullied the weak and feared the strong. He was unreasonable, but you were even more unreasonable than him. Thus he would be terrified. Lu Jing was like this, and Lu Zhengchun was also like this. Lu Foran just finished crying and looked at Shun Miao. When something happened to Jing, you were at the scene. Did you see the murderer? Shun Miao shook her head. Lu Jingchun sternly said, "At that time when you were there, Jing could still speak. It was obvious that the person did not take action for long. So how could one not see it?" Before Shun Miao could speak, Emperor Yongle spoke first. Qin Wangfei was only passing by, and it is not a crime to not see the murderer. General Liu did not go and investigate the murderer and blame the person who should not be blamed. Concern causes confusion. Shun Miao did not expect that Emperor Yongle would speak for her, as Emperor Yongle had always looked down on her. Lu Jingchun sneered, "Your Majesty, in this world, there are many cases of thieves crying thief." Empress Xianda frowned. Qin Wangfei would not do such a thing. Ben Gong is willing to use the identity of the Empress as a guarantee. Emperor Yongle and Empress Xianda spoke for Shun Miao, so Lu Jingchun could not say anything. He smiled, but his smile was very fierce. Shun Miao said, "Even though I saw that something happened to consort Jing, but the young lady of the Yi family had been accompanying consort Jing before it happened. General Liu might as well ask her, who did not know how to divert trouble to another." Originally, this matter was stirred up by Yi Mei, and Shun Miao was not willing to take the blame for Yi Mei. Lu Zhengchun looked at Yi Mei, who was kneeling on the ground. His eyes flashed, but he did not say anything. Shun Miao understood that this Lu Zhengchun looked like a martial artist, but he had his own shrewdness. Now that the Liu family was being besieged by the imperial family, the situation was getting more and more tense by the day. Naturally, they wanted to find an ally. The Yi family couldn't be any better, but Yi Maokai was more shrewd than him, and the Yi family had yet to decide which side to stand on. Lu Jingchun naturally hoped that the Yi family would stand on his side. Anyway, his daughter and grandson were already dead, and the future matters were more important. In comparison, he was even more unwilling to offend potential allies for the sake of dead people. For a family in the center of power, they could even sacrifice their children in vain. A son would still consider it, and as for a daughter, there was almost no need to care as they were people of other families. As Shun Miao was thinking like this in her heart, she saw a person dressed as a guard walking over and walking to the front of Emperor Yongle. "Your Majesty," someone said that they saw the murderer that pushed Consort Jing down the stairs. Chapter 1050. When the words were said, everyone was shocked. Emperor Yongle and Empress Xianda had not even spoken when Lu Zhengchun had already opened his mouth. "Who is it? Did that person say who the murderer is?" Lu Foran, however, quickly clasped her hands together and said bitterly, "The heavens have a spirit and can finally find the person who killed my Jing. Wait till I find that person and make him pay with blood." The Liu family's attitude was just too exaggerated. Emperor Yongle coldly said, "Bring him in." Shun Miao subconsciously looked at Yi Mei on the ground. Yi Mei was kneeling on the ground with her back slightly bent, looking like she was wronged and helpless. Shun Miao, however, noticed her hands. The long sleeves covered her palms, but revealed her fingertips. The slender fingers were really as beautiful as tender onions, but the thumb and index finger of her left hand formed a circle and gently rubbed together. Shen Miao had dealt with Mei Foran for a lifetime and naturally knew the meaning of her every action. Shen Miao was very clear about this action. When Yi Mei was scheming against someone, and when her goal was about to be achieved, she would involuntarily do this action. Shen Miao's heart jumped. That witness who came to testify was a part of Yi Mei's scheme? She was about to achieve her goal? Or perhaps Lu Jing's death was really related to Yi Mei? Why? Following that, there was a sound of twigs coming from outside the room. This sound was like the sound of wheels rolling on the ground. Shen Miao slightly narrowed her eyes and looked towards a door. A maidservant pushed a person into the room. That person was sitting on a chair with wheels, and there was a blanket covering his knees with both hands folded neatly on his knees. He seemed to be unable to walk, and that chair with wheels could be pushed forward effortlessly by the maid. When one got closer, one could see clearly that that person was around 11 or 12 years old. His appearance was delicate and was a youth wearing an ivory-colored robe. He seemed to be somewhat shy, but there was a trace of panic in his eyes. Shen Miao stood there as if she had turned into a stone statue. Her eyes were instantly filled with hot tears that almost fell down. Fu Ming. Time suddenly turned around. She could almost see through the beautiful young man on the wheelchair to the little boy wearing a bright yellow robe, holding a large bouquet of red plum blossoms in his hands, smiling at her in a flattering and caring manner. He said, "Moo." Urchin saw that the plum blossoms in the courtyard have bloomed, so I climbed the tree and cut a large bouquet. Muhu looks at the red plum blossoms in the room every day and feels comfortable. Your illness will soon recover. He said, although Jie is no longer here, your son will always accompany Mu. He said, don't worry, mother. Your son will learn from the grand tutor. When your son becomes stronger, no one will dare to bully mother. Now, that beautiful and exquisite youth was pushed in front of Yi Mei and called out softly, "Big sister." Shen Miao's eyes widened. He was the young master of the Yi family, Yi Hongguang, who was born of a concubine and was registered under Madame Ye's name. People from a Yi clan? The manservant pushed Yi Hongguang forward. Yi Hongguang faced Emperor Yonglu and was slightly nervous. It was as though he didn't know where to put his hands and feet when facing the ruler of Great Liang. He said, Hongguang greets your majesty. Please forgive Hongguang's legs for not being able to properly greet. Emperor Yonglu lightly waved his hands. Yi Hongguang seemed to be facing so many people for the first time and was somewhat afraid. He involuntarily turned the mechanism on the chair and moved closer to Yi Mei. When Shen Miao saw this, her gaze suddenly paused. How could Fu Ming and Yi Mei have such an intimate posture? She suddenly had an impulse to pull Fu Ming away from Yi Mei's side. But she could not. She and Fu Ming were strangers. Chapter 10:51. It seemed that her gaze was too persistent that even Yi Hongguang could sense it. Yi Hongguang swept a glance over with some curiosity in his eyes. Seeing Shen Miao staring at him without blinking, he lowered his head in shock and rubbed the edge of the blanket on his knees uneasily. Young Master Yi? Lu Zhengquan's brows wrinkled as he asked. You saw the murderer who killed Jing Er? Yi Hongguang was startled and jumped in shock when he saw Lu Zhengquan's fiendish look and looked towards Yi Mei for help. Every time he looked at Yi Mei with a dependent gaze, Shen Miao's heart felt as if a knife was being twisted in her heart. Empress Xianda said in a pleasant manner, Hongguang, you said that you saw the person who pushed down Consort Jing. Is it true? Empress Xianda seemed to have a good impression of Yi Hongguang and spoke much more gently. Yi Hongguang looked at Empress Xianda, and it seemed that he was not that afraid as he nodded his head. Then who is that person? Empress Xianda asked. Yi Hongguang lowered his head as if he was somewhat timid. After hesitating for a long time, he then raised his head again. The direction he raised his head was towards Shen Miao, and his eyes also landed on Shen Miao. Then Yi Hongguang slowly reached out his hand and pointed at Shen Miao before saying softly, It is her. Shen Miao was like being struck by lightning. Empress Xianda's expression changed and asked in a stern voice, Hongguang, do you know that if one lies, it is a crime of deceiving the monarch, and one will lose their head? Emperor Yonglu also said coldly, Are you sure that you saw it clearly? The emperor and empress attitude made it clear that they did not believe Yi Hongguang's words. Yi Hongguang looked to be very timid, but under the pressure of the emperor and empress, he became more determined. He looked at Shun Miao and said with certainty, It is this foreign. Shun Miao staggered a step and almost could not believe her own ears. This foreign, Fu Ming actually called her this foreign. Her son was now by her enemy's side and was helping her enemy to testify against her. How ridiculous! When her actions landed in the eyes of others, it seemed that she had a guilty conscience. Lu Jingchuan's eyes narrowed, and without a second word, he reached out to Shun Miao's body and actually wanted to drag Shun Miao over. Seeing this, Star Anise and Fennel immediately stood in front of Shun Miao to protect her. No one expected that Lu Zhengchun would suddenly make a move. The Imperial Guards hurriedly protected Empress Xinda and Emperor Yonglu. Emperor Yonglu shouted, Lu Zhengchun, you are making a move in the Jinghua Palace. Are you trying to rebel? As Lu Zhengchun fought with the Star Anise, he loudly said, Your Majesty, my Lu family has lost Jing. Now that the murderer is in front of us, let this old man take revenge for the murder of my daughter. Then you'll punish me for my crimes. Even if I bring it out to the world, I'm afraid the common people will think that I did the right thing. This Lu Zhengchun was truly a troublemaker. Emperor Yonglu's face turned ashen. Star Anise and Fennel had to consider their identities in Shun Miao, but Lu Jingchuan's every move was ruthless and deadly. The two girls were about to lose. Shun Miao stared blankly at Yi Hongguang, who was beside Yi Mei. Yi Hongguang seemed to be avoiding her gaze and was unwilling to look at Shun Miao. Instead, he whispered something to Yi Mei. Just at this moment, Lu Jingchun's legs suddenly went soft, and he knelt on the ground. Everyone did not see clearly what happened and only heard a pada sound as 2 gold ingots fell to the ground. Lu Zhengchun held his knees as he fell to the ground. A calm voice sounded from outside. When this prince is not here, any Tom, Dick, or Harry can bully this prince's woman. He was even more arrogant and rampant than Lu Zhengchun. In the calm voice, everyone could hear the anger. One saw Xie Jingxing appearing at the door with a gold ingot in his hand. Obviously, he had used this to injure Lu Zhengchun's knees. He strode over to Shun Miao's side, and when he saw Shun Miao's pale expression, he thought that Shun Miao was frightened and became even angrier. He turned to look at Lu Zhengchun, who was being helped up by his subordinates, and indifferently said, Master Lu, do you have any dissatisfaction with this prince? His appearance was handsome and his tone was calm, but it sent a chill down one's spine. Lu Zhengchun was not to be outdone. Even though he was angry that Xie Jingxing made a fool of him, he was still unforgiving. He said, Jinger was killed by someone. Young Master Yi saw it with his own eyes, and it was Shun Miao who did it. For this old man to take revenge for his daughter is only right and proper. Young Master Yi? Xie Jingxing's gaze swept around the room and stopped on Yi Hongguang, who was in a wheelchair. He slowly walked over to Yi Hongguang and looked down at him from above. Xie Jingxing was a person that made people feel pressured. When Yi Hongguang was stared at by him, he felt somewhat uncomfortable and avoided his gaze. Xie Jingxing looked at him with a smile that was not a smile. Which eye of yours saw her kill someone? Not waiting for Yi Hongguang to reply, Xie Jingxing lightly said, Which eye of yours saw it? I will dig out that eye of yours. Chapter 1052. Whichever eye you saw it with, I will dig out that eye of yours. A brazen threat, and not caring that Lu Zhengchun and Emperor Yonglu were present, he dared to say such disgraceful words. Lu Zhengchun was so angry that he almost raised his head. Xie Jingxing's meaning was clearly for Yi Hongguang to change his words in front of him. How could there be such a scoundrel in the world? Now, tell me again. Xie Jingxing played with the gold ingot in his hand and carelessly said, What did you see? Yi Hongguang had never seen such a situation before and had never thought that there would be someone who dared to be so unreasonable in front of the emperor. In his nervousness, he looked at Yi Mei as if asking for help. This was because among the people present, Yi Mei was the one who had the closest relationship with him. But what made Yi Hongguang disappointed was that Yi Mei did not help him and lowered her head to avoid Yi Hongguang's gaze. Like this, Yi Hongguang was even more helpless. Emperor Yonglu and Empress Xian did not speak. Originally, Lu Jingchuan's arrogance was infuriating, but Xie Jingxing was not someone who would suffer losses. When the two of them met, no matter how one looked at it, it was Lu Zhengchun who was at a disadvantage, so the two of them would not speak. Even though Lu Zhengchun was angry with Xie Jingxing, he did not dare to act rashly. Emperor Yonglu still had to consider his status as the emperor, and it was not the time to shed all pretense of cordiality. But Xie Jingxing was different. When Xie Jingxing first returned to Longyi, there were also court officials who pointed out their suspicions of Xie Jingxing in the throne room. At that time, they all smiled and agreed. Not long after, did those court officials have a good ending? Xie Jingxing was a vicious person and would seek revenge for the smallest grievance. Unless there was no other choice, one must not shed all pretense of cordiality with him. Yi Hongguang was unwilling to speak, and Xin Miao calmed down at this time. She walked forward and happened to be shoulder to shoulder with Xie Jingxing looking at the youth on the wheelchair. She said, "You really saw me push Jing Fei down?" Yi Hongguang raised his head to look at her. Xin Miao was after all a female, and Yi Hongguang was not that afraid of her. Even though his expression was still somewhat unnatural, his courage was much bigger. He hesitated for a bit before firmly nodding his head. She said, "Good. Then you tell me, where were you at that time?" Yi Hongguang was stunned. "Are you above or below the steps?" Xin Miao patiently guided. She softened her tone like a gentle older sister, but Yi Hongguang suddenly shrunk his neck because of her question. Yi Mei, who was kneeling motionlessly on the ground with her head lowered, also trembled slightly. Xin Miao did not give him a chance to think as she pressed on and asked, "Do you remember? Above or below?" "Below, below," Yi Hongguang said. Xin Miao laughed softly. Lu Jingchun and Madame Lu angrily looked at her, seemingly annoyed that she could still smile in this kind of situation. However, Empress Xianda's eyes relaxed slightly. Emperor Yonglu stared at Xin Miao, while Xie Jingxing crossed his arms and looked at Yi Hongguang with a smile that was not a smile. "That is really strange," Xin Miao said. "That flight of steps is very long and steep, and it is because of this that Jing Fei fell so heavily. Such a long and steep flight of stairs. How could you see me standing at the top?" One feared that one would not even be able to see Jing Fei's shadow. Yi Hongguang was stunned in a moment. He was not old and did not leave the residence all year round. Seeing Emperor Yonglu today, he was already very nervous, but now that Xin Miao said that, he panicked. Yi Mei slowly clenched his fists. Xin Miao asked, "Young master, Yi, think again. Could it be that you have misremembered? Was it above or below?" Yi Hongguang quickly said, "Above. I have misremembered. It is above." He repeated it again with certainty. Chapter 1053. Yi Mei, who was on the floor, suddenly shrugged her shoulders as if she was somewhat discouraged. Xin Miao was still smiling, but her eyes turned sharp as she said, "Oh, young Master Ye's legs are inconvenient, and it is such a long flight of steps. One would think that one would not be able to go up by oneself. There should be someone who would carry you up or carry your wheelchair up. You should also have your own servant by your side. Why is it that only you saw me pushing people and not your servant?" The room quietened down in a moment. Large drops of sweat appeared on Yi Hongguang's forehead. His face flushed red, and he could not speak for a moment, as if his lie had been exposed. Emperor Yonglu coldly said, "Do you know what is the crime of deceiving the emperor?" The crime of deceiving the emperor was one's head. It was also that Yi Hongguang could not take fright. One had to know that Xin Miao's words, if one was clever, one could find other excuses. For example, when the servant went to take things and temporarily left him alone, most people would not obediently plead guilty and would fight for what was right. But Yi Hongguang easily admitted his lie. It was obvious that he did not often do such things and was not familiar with it. If it was a veteran like Yi Mei, It would be much easier for the steamy eyes to lie. Xie Jingxing's lips curled up. Imperial older brother, an official's relative, knowingly committed a crime. Just throw them to the Ministry of Justice, or maybe parade them in the streets. He lazily said, otherwise anyone can bully the people of Prince Rue's residence. Then how can I live? Xie Jingxing was clearly using his position to avenge a private grudge. But he was not a good person and did not have any good feelings towards the Yi family. Thus there was no hesitation when he spoke of these things. It only made Yi Mei's face pale and Lu Zhengquan's expression very ugly. Killing the chicken to warn the monkey. Who was the chicken and who was the monkey, it was clear at a glance. Empress Xianda said, Yi Hongguang, you dare to lie in the palace and vainly attempt to slander Qin Wangfei. Her harsh words and stern expression made Yi Hongguang almost cry out in fright. But Yi Mei ignored him, and he did not have any familiar people in the palace, so he was very helpless. The young master of the Yi family is young, and it is understandable for him to see wrongly. Thinking about it, when he saw that something had happened to Jing Fei, he was anxious, and because he caught the culprit, it is possible that he misunderstood something. Shen Miao helped Yi Hongguang exonerate. Everyone was surprised by her actions. Yi Hongguang had slandered Shen Miao, and even though Shen Miao was not a vicious person, she would not show mercy to those who harmed her. Looking at the second and third household of the Shun family, and even the imperial family of Ming Qi, when had she ever been soft? Hence, Yi Hongguang's leniency was rather puzzling. Xie Jingxing also frowned. Shen Miao slightly bent over, and her line of sight was at the same level as Yi Hongguang. She said warmly, or perhaps you heard something from others so you misunderstood me? Did anyone teach you to say that? Yi Hongguang's body suddenly shook. Shen Miao was close to him and could clearly see the flash of panic in Yi Hongguang's eyes. Yi Hongguang really wasn't good at lying. Although he didn't show it, almost everyone could see that he was lying. Xie Jingxing's eyes sharpened, but Yi Hongguang raised his head again and looked at Shen Miao firmly. No one taught me. There was no one to teach him, but he no longer insisted that Shen Miao was the murderer. Shen Miao said, I know. Empress Xianda frowned and thought about it before saying, the matter of Jing Fei will be handed over to the Ministry of Justice for investigation. Yi Hongguang, since you have lied, then it cannot be treated as true. The most urgent matter is to investigate the palace to see if there is such an assassin and also to collect the corpse of Jing Fei. Finally, she looked at the Liu couple and said, what else does General Liu have to say? At the end, her tone was filled with ridicule. Chapter 1054. Lu Zhengchun looked at Empress Xianda and held a breath in his heart. In the beginning, when Emperor Yong Lu favored Jing Fei, they had hoped that Jing Fei would replace Empress Xianda's position. But Empress Xianda's usual actions were not something that could be used against her. After so many years, they had not succeeded. Lu Jing had given pillow talk to Emperor Yong Lu countless times, but in the end, Emperor Yong Lu did not have the intention to abolish the Empress. It was not easy for Lu Jing to conceive the dragon seed, and it was at such a delicate time. They thought that they could turn the tables, but who knew that the weather was unpredictable and all their efforts were for naught? In reality, Lu Zhengchun himself knew that Lu Jing was already dead and it was too late to say anything now. But he was unwilling and hoped that Emperor Yong Lu could compensate him with something. Today, he had pestered Emperor Yong Lu endlessly, and although he was angry, it wasn't because of his daughter's tragic death, but because he felt pity for his grandson. Xie Jingxing's sudden appearance made Lu Zhengchun put away his arrogance. In terms of viciousness, this Prince Rue was even more vicious. Knowing that there was no gain today, Lu Zhengchun unwillingly said, this subject obeys the emperor. At the side, a murderous intent flashed through Emperor Yongli's eyes. The Liu couple left. From entering the palace to leaving the palace, they did not even look at the dead Jing Fei once, as though she was not their own daughter. After they left, Emperor Yonglu said, you all should also return. Empress Xianda looked strangely at Emperor Yonglu. This Yi Mei and Yi Hongguang, one was with Jing Fei at that time. Even though there were talented people in the small building as witnesses, it could not wash away all the suspicions. The other one directly slandered Shen Miao. Even if these two people were not the murderers, they would definitely not be spared. But Emperor Yong Lu did not seem to have any intentions of pursuing it. Empress Xiando was puzzled, but saw Emperor Yong Li's body move imperceptibly. Her heart jumped, but she did not care about anything else, and immediately said, "Not bad, go back now." Xie Jingxing's brows furrowed, but he did not say anything. He only looked coldly at Yi Mei, who was thanking him, and the manservant who was pushing Yi Hongguang. He slowly stood up and hurriedly left. He said, "Since there's nothing else, I will take my leave first." Xie Jingxing never hid his emotions in front of Emperor Yonglu. Obviously, he was not happy with Emperor Yongli's punishment. Shen Miao and Xie Jingxing left Jinhua Palace together, and as they were walking out of the palace, they coincidentally met Yi Mei and her brother. Shen Miao was slightly startled. Yi Hongguang suddenly ordered the manservant who was pushing him to stop. He turned around and looked at Shen Miao as if he had something to say. Xie Jingxing's face immediately became ugly. He had classified all the Yi family's people as dangerous people. If dangerous people were to get close to Shen Miao, what if something happened? Thus, he followed closely behind, the dagger in his sleeve unsheathed without batting an eyelid. Shen Miao watched as the youth stopped in front of her. Not far away, Yi Mei was looking over with a nervous expression. It seemed that she wanted to stop Yi Hongguang's actions, but with Tai, Yi, and Songyang blocking her, she didn't dare move. Yi Hongguang raised his head and looked at her with a red face. He seemed to be very ashamed as he said, "Sorry." He seemed to want to say something, but hesitated for a moment. In the end, he did not say anything. He looked at Shen Miao again before pushing the wheelchair and left. Xie Jingxing's eyebrows raised as if he did not understand what Yi Hongguang meant. Shen Miao looked at his back, and her expression became somewhat complicated. On the carriage back, Xie Jingxing saw that Shen Miao did not speak at all and said, "Let the MOU army capture that brat to the tower prison and lock him up for a day or two. After he is honest, he will then explain who the person behind him is." Chapter 1055. He was talking about Yi Hongguang. Today, with Yi Hongguang's performance in Jinhua Palace, even a fool would not believe that there was no one who instructed him to slander Shen Miao. Shen Miao rolled her eyes at Xie Jingxing. What is there to explain? Other than Yi Mei, who else could it be? Yi Mei's small actions could be hidden from others, but not from her. Then why are you still unhappy? Xie Jingxing pinched her face. Seeing that brat today, it was very strange. Is there anything that I do not know? He narrowed his eyes. Shen Miao pushed his hand away. Do you still remember that I told you about the dream that I had? In a dream, I gave birth to a son and a daughter. Xie Jingxing's joking expression paused as he looked at her. When I first saw Yi Hongguang, I felt that he was too similar to the child in the dream, my child. I thought that he was the child in the dream. But he stood on Yi Mei's side and helped Yi Mei to slander me. To tell the truth, I was very sad. Shen Miao said. But afterwards I took a careful look and discovered that they were not the same. They only looked alike. Speaking of which, now thinking about it, they only looked like each other and there were still many differences. After a short period of surprise and sadness, Shen Miao kept paying attention to that beautiful youth. At first glance, he and Fu Ming did not look any different, but their temperaments were completely different. Because Fu Ming was not favored by Fu Xiao Yi, and because of her tit-for-tat relationship with Mei Foreign, he matured early since young. Fu Ming was generous, magnanimous, upright, and kind. Fu Ming had the qualities that an outstanding heir to the throne should have. But this child in front of her was just an ordinary young master of an official's family. Most likely because of the inconvenience of his legs, he had some inferiority complex. Fu Ming would not lie. Fu Ming would not stand by Yi Mei's side, and Fu Ming would not help Yi Mei to deal with her. The most important thing was that Shen Miao stood in front of that child, but there were no waves in her heart. There was a connection between mother and son, and if she was able to feel Fu Ming, her heart would not be so calm. Yi Hongguang was not Fu Ming, but was very similar to Fu Ming. She was almost bewitched, but she quickly regained her composure. There was no mother who understood her own son, so there was no shadow of Fu Ming on Yi Hongguang. This made Shun Miao very disappointed, but at the same time, she was relieved. If Fu Ming really became a member of the Yi clan in this life, the Yi clan would use him to deal with Shun Miao. That was what Shun Miao was most unwilling to see. Similar? Xie Jingxing was puzzled. That's why you were especially tolerant of him. There should be this reason. Shun Miao said, facing that face, one would not be able to be ruthless. Moreover, you also know that the main culprit of this matter is someone else. Yi Hongguang was merely being used by someone else. He probably didn't even lie often, so the way he lied made people not know whether to laugh or cry. It is just that I am very curious. Shun Miao said, if this matter is really related to Yi Mei, why would Yi Mei push Consort Jing down? This isn't her style of doing things. I always feel that she's too careless. Xie Jingxing smiled. Or is it just an accident? Accident. At the same time, Yi Mei and Yi Hongguang were on the carriage returning to the mansion. Yi Hongguang was very uneasy. The manservant carried him into the carriage and sat beside Yi Mei. Yi Mei, who usually spoke in a gentle and soft voice, did not speak a single word to him after entering the carriage. Yi Hongguang's face showed some uneasiness. Just as he was about to speak, Yi Mei suddenly said, "Third younger brother, what did you say to Prince Consort?" Yi Mei was also smiling, and this smile was no different from usual, but Yi Hongguang did not know why, but he felt a little afraid. He hesitated for a moment before softly saying, "I said sorry to her." Chapter 1056. Yi Mei's expression slightly changed. Qin Wang Fei looks like a good person. Yi Hongguang lowered his head and whispered, "I slandered her like that, but she did not get angry and was amiable to me. She is a good person and did not look down on me for being a cripple. Eldest sister, I have lied and wronged a good person. My heart is very uneasy. Did I not say it before?" Yi Mei frowned and said, "If you don't say this, the Emperor and Empress will definitely suspect me. It's fine if they suspect me, but it will implicate the entire Yi family. Do you want to see father and mother implicated? The imperial family people would not care about right and wrong. Father and mother are old and being tormented like this. The matter of face is small, but what if their bodies are injured?" These words were somewhat impolite. Yi Mei had always been polite and kind to Yi Hongguang, and Yi Hongguang also liked this elder sister who looked like a fairy. This was the first time he was reprimanded by Yi Mei like this, and there was some indignation, so Yi Hongguang's heart did not feel good. He dared not say anything more and only heard Yi Mei speaking again. "Moreover, how do you know that she was wronged?" Qin Wang Fei herself said that it was not her. The Emperor and Empress also trust her. Yi Hongguang whispered, "Older sister, why must one lie? Why not let them suspect you, so that it is necessary to identify Qin Wang Fei?" Anger finally appeared on Yi Mei's face, and she looked somewhat sinisterly at Yi Hongguang. "You would rather believe her and not believe this older sister?" Yi Hongguang shook his head. "I just feel that Qin Wang Fei is not such a person." Saying that she believed Shun Miao, Yi Mei's anger could not be expressed in words. Emperor Yonglu, Empress Xianda, Prince Rui, and now even Yi Hongguang. What kind of demonic technique did Shun Miao have that she could win the trust of others? Even she could not gain any advantage from Shun Miao's hands. Thinking of what happened before, Yi Mei could not help but tremble. She did not think that Lu Jing would be arrogant and stupid to this extent. Yi Mei only listened to Yi Maocai's instructions and came over to inquire about the news from Lu Jing, who knew that Lu Jing's jealousy was so obvious that she deliberately made things difficult for her. Yi Mei was also a person who could keep her composure. However, Lu Jing was the first to get angry. Lu Jing actually wanted to ruin her appearance. How could Yi Mei be the type to suffer losses? In the midst of the dispute, she accidentally pushed Lu Jing down. She fled in panic. She originally wanted to take advantage of the chaos to escape. Yi Maocai would definitely not offend her for her sake. Yi Mei could only rely on herself. Yet at this time, she found that after being in Long Yi for such a long time, she hadn't fought for a way out for herself. Even with the backing of the Yi family, It was still unclear whether they were friend or foe. However, her luck had never been too bad. She could always find a way out of a hopeless situation. Lu Jing had actually died. Dead men tell no tales. Everything was over. She didn't need to run anymore. After Yimei slowly calmed down, she thought of a way to bribe the unfavored, talented young man. She knew that no matter what, she would not be able to clear all the doubts. So she simply stirred up the water even more. She made Yi Hongwang testify as well. Yi Mei threatened Yi Hongwang. If he didn't lie, the entire Yi residence would be implicated. Yi Hongwang was timid and had grown up in the Yi residence since young. He was not clear about the situation outside and the ways of the world, so he agreed in fear. But Yi Mei did not think that Yi Hongwang would be so useless that Shen Miao caught his mistakes and pressured him step by step. This act of framing was almost useless at the end, and the Lu family's fear of Xie Yuan made Yi Mei finally understand how terrible it was to offend the residents of Prince Rui. Previously, she proposed to Yi Maokai to assassinate Shen Miao, and now she instructed Yi Hongwang to slander Shen Miao. Yi Mei always felt that once Xie Yuan found out that she was the one who stirred things up, he would not let her off. Chapter 1057. And today, even though Empress Xianda and Emperor Yongla unexpectedly let her off, Shen Miao did not investigate further. But the more Yi Mei thought about it, the more she felt that something was wrong and suspected that they had a deeper conspiracy. Taking a step back, Yi Maokai would know about this matter sooner or later. She had mistakenly killed Imperial concubine Jing and caused trouble. Yi Mei really did not know how such a shrewd person like Yi Maokai would treat her. Yi Mei's heart was filled with anger, fear, and frustration. Long Yi seemed to be her nemesis. When she was in Qinzhou, she could get whatever she wanted, but in Long Yi, she repeatedly ran into a wall. She originally thought that she would have a meteoric rise in the future if she connected with the Yi family. In the end, not only was the Yi family situation unclear, she had also offended someone she should not have offended. She could not stay in Long Yi and had to leave the Yi family. Yi Mei's heart suddenly had this thought. She subconsciously glanced at Yi Hongwang. Yi Hongwang had his head lowered as he silently pulled at the fur of the blanket on his knees and did not see her gaze. Yi Mei's eyes suddenly turned cold. To escape from the Yi family, to escape from Long Yi, it was not an easy matter for her now. It was easy to get on the boat, but hard to get off, and there was also Yi Maokai watching. But if she continued to stay here, Yi Mei had a feeling that she would not even know how she died. She had to properly discuss this with Yi Ke. Because of the delay of Imperial concubine Jing's matter, it was already late when Shen Miao and Xie Jingxing returned to Prince Rui's residence. After bathing and eating, Shen Miao sorted out some letters on the table as she said to Xie Jingxing, "I did not expect that it was like this." Xie Jingxing's subordinates had come to deliver a message. They probably had figured out what had happened in the palace today. They probably guessed that Yi Mei had mistakenly killed Lu Jing. Shen Miao shook her head and said, "The Lu family probably knows that Yi Mei was the one who did it. They secretly hate her and will not show it." Xie Jingxing leaned on the couch as he watched her tidying up and set in. Shen Miao asked, "Then what will the emperor do when he finds out the truth? Will he punish Yi Mei?" "So what if we can't find out?" Xie Jingxing said nonchalantly. "Even if Yi Mei didn't kill by accident, the Yi family wouldn't have kept her alive. Even if Yi Mei did kill by accident, Yi Maokai wouldn't feel bad about sacrificing a daughter that the Yi family took in halfway." Xie Jingxing shrugged. "Who cares about concubine Jing and the child in her belly?" Shen Miao sighed. Emperor Yongla hated the Yi clan to the core. He had no expectations for the child that Lu Jing tried so hard to conceive, so he naturally wouldn't care. Perhaps Lu Jing's death would even make Emperor Yongla feel relieved. He didn't love concubine Jing, but she was still his own flesh and blood. How could he face his own son when a Yi clan fell? Of course, this child was born with a congenital deficiency, so living in this world was a torture. The heavens had made the choice for him. Perhaps everything was predestined. Speaking of which, when I entered the palace today, something happened to Lu Jing. The emperor came, but you were not around. What did you do? Shen Miao asked. She asked naturally, as Xie Jingxing was a very frank person. As long as Shun Miao asked about the imperial family secrets, he would answer. But today, he looked at Shun Miao and did not speak. Shun Miao was originally waiting for him to answer, but seeing that he did not respond, her hands paused and saw Xie Jingxing smiling at her. His gaze was very gentle, as if he saw her as something precious. Shun Miao was stunned, and Xie Jingxing's lips curled up. Come here. She was stunned, and seeing Xie Jingxing's determined look, she stood up and walked to the side of the bed before asking, What's the matter? Xie Jingxing grabbed her wrist and pulled her into his embrace. Shun Miao was caught off guard as she laid in his embrace and struggled to prop herself up. Xie Jingxing did not let her move and rested his chin on her head as he lightly said, I once asked you a question. Do you still want to be the Empress? Do you remember? I remember. Shun Miao paused before replying. Then I will ask you again now. He said, I don't want to. Shun Miao said, My wish is very simple, to protect my loved ones and to live well. Being the Empress is good, but I don't like it. What should I do? He said with some distress. I also don't like it, but now I have to do it. The head of the Gao family said that imperial brother will not live for more than half a year. Today, he wrote the edict for succession. I don't believe in fate, but there is no time. He sighed softly and placed Shun Miao's hand in his palm. I know you don't like it, but can you bear with it for me? At least I can promise you that I will never let you become an empress. You will become the only woman of the Emperor of the Liang. The price you have to pay is, he leaned close to Shun Miao's ear and ruthlessly said, In this life there is no way back. Chapter 1058. Shun Miao did not speak. However, Xie Jingxing did not let go of her and just locked her in his arms. After a long time, Shun Miao raised her head and looked at him. Xie Jingxing also stared at her. This arrogant man, who looked as if he did not care about anything, had seen him walk from a naughty and mischievous youth to now. The cynicism in his eyes had never changed, but at this moment when he looked at her, there was a little bit of nervousness in his eyes. Shun Miao's heart moved, and in a short moment, she suddenly smiled. She said, Then what benefits do I have? Xie Jingxing was startled, and there was a touch of ecstasy in his eyes. He seemed to be relieved, but there was still some disbelief. He said, Whatever you want, I will give it to you. If what I want, you also want it. Shun Miao asked. Xie Jingxing raised his eyebrows. What do you want? 13 capitals of Yuzhou. It belongs to you. He waved his hands, as if what Shun Miao said was just a little thing like rouge and face powder. Mo Bei, Ding Yuan City. Shun Miao looked at his face. It belongs to you. Xie Jingxing did not even blink. Jiang, Ninyu Province, Ding Shidong Hai, Lineage Lake, Luo Yang Ancient City. All belong to you. Xie Jingxing answered smoothly and almost without thinking. If Emperor Yong Lu heard this, he would be so angry that he would vomit blood. If Emperor Xiao Wu was here, he would also be so angry that he would point at Xie Jingxing's nose and scold him for being a wastrel, and then charge Shun Miao as a country-wrecking demoness. But Xie Jingxing was not one who would care about other people's view. Of course, Shun Miao would not really snatch Xie Jingxing's empire. She only felt that Xie Jingxing had too much on his shoulders and hoped to distract his attention. It was going to make a little joke to make him feel more relaxed. All belong to me. What do you want? Shun Miao asked. Xie Jingxing laughed evilly and said mischievously, 13 times in one night? Shun Miao. Xie Jingxing pulled Shun Miao, who was about to leave, and said seriously, Foreign, you cannot abandon me. Shun Miao said, You are so energetic. I will let Uncle Tang bring you some ice to cool down. Xie Jingxing pushed her down and said unhurriedly, With Foreign here, what ice is needed? Outside, Song Yang covered his ears with a pained expression. It was Jingzhe, who was passing by at the side, who saw his appearance and came forward with good intentions. Guard Yang, why are you shaking so fiercely? Could it be that you're sick? As he spoke, he reached out to touch Song Yang's forehead. Song Yang was, after all, a young man, and he was forced to listen to a live erotic scene. Just as he was blushing, he was caught off guard by an ice-cold little hand covering his forehead, and he immediately jumped up from the ground. It made Jingzhe jump in shock. Jingzhe looked at her own hands. What happened? Song Yang looked at her, as if he had seen a ghost. Suddenly, he rushed forward and ran away as if his butt was on fire, leaving Jingzhe in a daze at the same spot. Tai Yi, who was on the tree, saw everything that happened and did not say anything. He revealed a look of understanding in his heart as he sat quietly hugging his sword. Under the tree, Uncle Tang walked past. Seeing the closed door, he smacked his lips in satisfaction and went to instruct the kitchen to make soup. In the next few days, Xie Jingxing was really busy. Most likely it was because Emperor Yongli's illness had worsened. Xie Jingxing had to personally run many things that the Lu and Yi families had to do personally. Thus, Xie Jingxing would leave early and return late. While Xie Jingxing was busy, Shen Miao was not idle. The Lu and Yi families had, after all, been in Long Yi for so many years. What the imperial family wanted to do now was to kill one as a warning to others, but they could not let the imperial family be too cruel, and in the future the officials would have disloyalty. Shen Miao shouldered these tasks and spoke to those noble Furins of Long Ye's officials, but also subtly passed some thoughts to them. Chapter 1059. These noble Furins looked like females, but in a residence, the role of females was indispensable. Originally, everyone thought that Shen Miao was, after all, a Ming Qi person. Ming Qi and the Great Liang were two different countries, and there were many different places. Shen Miao was a daughter of a military family, and it was even more impossible for her to have any insights. Who knew that after the exchange, Shen Miao had a huge change, seeing that not only her words were appropriate, she also seemed to know a lot of things that they did not know. Speaking of clothing styles, Shen Miao could keep up. Speaking of the overall situation, Shen Miao could also keep up. She could even talk about those strange things that happened in the north and south of the Yangtze River. Originally in the inner palace of Ming Qi in the last lifetime, even though she did not have a good life, at the end it increased her knowledge. Some of the envoys from other countries would also talk about some strange things. If one knew more, one would naturally be able to use it. When some things were used, there would be excellent results. The things that Xie Jingxing was able to do, Shen Miao might not be able to do it, but the intricate relationship of interests in politics and through quietly guiding to achieve one's goal was what Shen Miao was good at in this lifetime. In just a short few days, those noble Furins were all hot with Shen Miao, and when they hesitated on some matters, they would start to ask Shen Miao for advice. There was no lack of problems with the current situation. Firstly, Shen Miao was the Wang Fei of the residence of Prince Rui and was related to the imperial family. Thus, they were able to know the current attitude of the imperial family. Secondly, even though Shen Miao was young and was even younger than some of the Furin's daughters, there was a special feeling about her. It was very gentle and settled down, making others feel that her words were trustworthy. Shen Miao and Xie Jingxing were working hard for the upcoming storm in Long Yi Palace. Of course, the Lu and Yi family did not sit still and wait for death. The Lu family had lost a daughter, and seeing Emperor Yongli's attitude becoming more and more unyielding, they finally started to panic and started to mobilize the people that they privately raised. The Yi family was also watching from the sidelines at the start, but now they suddenly found themselves in a situation where they were not in control and seemed to have unknowingly been dragged into the water by the Lu family. Even though they did not do anything, the imperial family's attitude became subtle. From the beginning to the current indulgence, it seemed to explain something. Yi Mei's every move was secretly observed by Shen Miao and Mo Qing. These days, Yi Maokai was furious because of the disaster Yi Mei caused in Longya Palace. Yi Mei's actions had offended both Emperor Yongliu and the Lu family. The Lu family was easier to deal with. Although Lu Zhengchun was arrogant, he had been living off his past gains for so many years. He did not have a brain. However, Emperor Yongliu was different. The young emperor already had thunderous methods. It was because he didn't blame Yi Mei that Yi Maokai felt even more uneasy. He felt that Emperor Yongliu was planning something. Yi Maokai vented his anger on Yi Mei, so he grounded Yi Mei for so many days and treated her coldly. You may have been very sullen these past few days. Today, her confinement was finally lifted. In order to compensate her, Madame Yi brought her to her jewelry shop to choose some jewelry. Who knew that a noble would come to visit the Yi residence on the way? Madame Yi had no choice but to return. Since it was her family's shop, she wasn't afraid. She let Yi pick her own jewelry from the shop and return after she was done. The shopkeeper of the jewelry shop had a fawning look and took out the most expensive items for Yi to choose. Yi expression was absent-minded as she picked, which made the shopkeeper unable to help but feel a trace of anger. She was only a daughter of a merchant family, and now that the Yi family acknowledged her as their ancestor, it was already a great fortune. But she was still so picky and did not even take a liking to these jewelry. One did not know what kind of riches would enter her eyes. Chapter 1060. Yi did not notice the shopkeeper's expression. She had been treated coldly by Yi Maokai for the past few days and was extremely angry. However, she also realized that the Yi family was not a place to stay for long. Yi Maokai was a person who prioritized his own interests. For his own interests, he could sacrifice her at any time. She originally wanted to use the Yi family to climb up, but who knew that she was not strong enough and could only be a chess piece. And the path that Yi Maokai had arranged for her was not enough for Yi to get what she wanted. Her gaze swept over the dazzling jewelry, but her heart was thinking about how to escape, and if she could escape, where could she escape to? Just as she was thinking, two more people came to the jewelry shop. It was a man and a woman. The man was about 30 years old, dressed in luxurious clothes, had average looks, and was slightly plump. The woman was young, dressed in red and green. As soon as she came in, there was a strong fragrance. One look and one could tell that she was a brothel girl. The woman said sweetly, "Darren is buying bracelets with me. It must be made of gold." The man smiled and said generously, "Today you can pick whatever you want. This prince is in a good mood. It should be some young master who brought a girl from the brothel to be his succor." The shopkeeper was already dissatisfied with Yi absent-minded state. Now that there was a new customer, he simply threw Yi to the side and smiled as he placed the jewelry he had just given Yi in front of the woman. He said with a smile, "These are all newly delivered. Young lady can take a look." The woman squeezed to Yi side, and the fragrance made Yi somewhat unhappy. She turned her head to look at the woman, and when she saw the man beside the woman, she could not help but be startled. The man also saw her and was stunned for a moment before exclaiming in pleasant surprise, "May." The woman who was picking jewelry raised her head and looked at Yi warily. The shopkeeper also pricked up his ears. Since this person called Yi Mei, he naturally had an old friendship with Yi. After all, Yi was the daughter of a merchant. Yi originally wanted to avoid his gaze and leave, but suddenly thought of something and her footsteps stopped. She looked at the shopkeeper again and suddenly said, "Since we've met, let's talk somewhere else." The man seemed to be very eager, and the woman beside him grabbed the man's arm and said, "Darren, you still have to accompany this servant to pick jewelry." The man was impatient and directly grabbed a few banknotes from his bosom and threw them to the woman, saying, "See for yourself." After receiving the banknote, the woman no longer pestered him. The man and Yi went out together. Yi put on her veil and said, "Let's find a restaurant." In a certain elegant room in the restaurant, the man looked at Yi and asked curiously, "Why do you have so many guards by your side?" Back then, you and Brother Yi disappeared from Qin province without saying a word. I asked people to look for you for a long time, but I didn't expect you to be here. Yi's heart was pounding. This man was none other than her childhood sweetheart. Back then, the Li family was a merchant family in Qinzhou, and this man was the eldest son of the Jin family, Jin Xingming. The Jin family was also a merchant family. Master Jin and Master Li had a good relationship. When Yi was young, Jin Xingming was already a young man. Master Jin also joked about marrying Yi to Jin Xingming. Yi had been ambitious since she was young. Marrying a merchant woman was not her ultimate goal. But even though she hated Jin Xingming, she was very smart and never showed it to Jin Xingming. Instead, she was very considerate and obedient. She charmed Jin Xingming, worshipped her like a god, and loved her like a jewel. Later, the Li couple passed away, and the Li family's shops still needed the Jin family's care. Yi Mei was even more considerate to Jin Xingming. Master Jin was also planning to ask about her marriage. After all, the Li couple was not here, and the only one who could make the decision was Yi Mei herself. Yi Mei was naturally unwilling. In her heart, she would rather be an official's concubine than a merchant's wife. At this time, the Yi family appeared and hit it off. Yi Mei immediately came to Long Yi with Yi Mei. Because of her hatred for the Jin family, she didn't even say a word to the Jin family. Jin Xingming naturally didn't know that she had come to Long Yi. Who knew that they would meet here? Chapter 1061. Yi Mei quickly made up her mind and shook her head. She sighed and said, "When I was in the Li family, I was taken care of by the Jin family and had a good life with second brother. Who knew that someone would suddenly come to my door and say that my biological parents were someone else and that I was actually the daughter of Prime Minister Ye's family? I was bewildered, but they didn't give me time to explain and took me away." Prime Minister Ye's family? Jin Xingming cried out in shock. "Is it that Prime Minister Yi of Longye?" Yi Mei nodded and said, "But when I arrived, I found out that they had the wrong person. But you also know that the Yi family only has a bad young master. They were looking for a relative with great fanfare and got the wrong person. It wasn't good to slap their own face, so they forced me to be the daughter of the Yi family. I originally thought that this would be fine, but who knew that Prime Minister Yi was actually a beast in human skin? He wanted to use me as a bargaining chip in his career and use my marriage to rope others in." Tears streamed down her cheeks as she spoke. She was born beautiful, and now that she was acting like this, Jin Xingming's heart was broken. Jin Xingming said angrily, "How could he be like this? Even a biological daughter can't be so heartless. Not to mention that you are not his daughter, yet he tried in vain to seize your marriage. Damn it. Come, let's go report this to the authorities." "It's no use." Yi Mei shook her head. "Officials protect each other. Not to mention that Yi Maokai covers the sky with one hand in Longye. I wanted to write to Qinzhou to ask for your help, but who knew that even the letter would be blocked? Actually, second brother and I have already been placed under house arrest by the Yi family. It is already rare for us to go out like this today." Jin Xingming's face was extremely ugly. He originally liked Yi Mei very much. When Yi Mei and her brother disappeared, Master Jin said that it was because Yi Mei didn't want to marry him, so she ran away. Jin Xingming was still a bit angry, but now that the beauty was crying, how could Jin Xingming still be angry? He could only curse himself in his heart. If only he had discovered Yi Mei's predicament earlier. Yi Mei raised her head and said, "In the past few days, I've been thinking about Big Brother Jin all the time. I only hope that one day I can regain my freedom. Big Brother Jin, can you help me?" Jin Xingming nodded repeatedly. "Help? What can I do?" "Big Brother Jin, I don't ask for anything else. I just want you to help me leave the Yi clan." Yi Mei smiled with tears in her eyes. "If I can be with Big Brother Jin, I won't have to live in fear every day." Jin Xingming's heart almost melted from Yi Mei's words. It must be known that although Yi Mei used to be very gentle to him, it was different now. She had never said anything. It was as if he was looking at her through a veil, making it hard for him to understand her attitude. But now, her words clearly showed that Yi Mei regarded him as a very important person. Although he was a little smug, Jin Xingming did not lose his rationality. The Yi family was the Prime Minister's family, and he was just a young master of the Shang family. He said, the Yi family is very troublesome." Yi Mei didn't say anything. She just looked at him with her beautiful eyes. Jin Xingming's heart shook, and he said, "It is not that there is no way. Mei, do you know why I want to come along, Yi?" Yi Mei shook her head. She did not even care about Jin Xingming, and seeing Jin Xingming taking the initiative to talk to her today, it was to make use of him to leave the Yi family. How would she think of this later? Jin Xingming proudly said, "I have a friend who is also a merchant. Last year, he went to Mingqi and heard that this year he managed to build a relationship with the imperial merchant. Perhaps he would be able to get an official position. I thought about it, and instead of staying in Qin province as an ordinary merchant for a lifetime, it is better to go out and make a living. That friend also invited me along. I came to Long Yi to settle a few of the family's businesses and discuss with that friend. Chapter 1062. Originally, I was still very hesitant. Jin Xingming said, "After all, father and mother are here, but now that I have met Mayor Yu, I have nothing to fear." I had decided to go to Ming Qi's Ding capital. I did not think of becoming a high-ranking official, but there will definitely be more to earn. He said, "The Yi family's hand covers the sky, but if one were to escape to Ming Qi, the Yi family's hand would not be able to stretch that far. What do you think, Mayor?" Yimei's heart moved, and when Jin Xingming was speaking, her mind was already calculating quickly. Even though there were some things that she had not thought clearly, she still smiled and said, "Naturally, it is very good. Older brother Jin, you are indeed Mayor's reliance. No one else in this world can be relied on. Luckily, there is older brother Jin." She was delicate and gentle with a myriad of amorous feelings. Jin Xingming's heart jumped when he saw it, and involuntarily reached out to touch Yimei's little hand. Yimei endured the disgust and allowed Jin Xingming to take advantage of her. If it was in the past, she would naturally disdain to do so, but now she had no choice but to compromise. Shen Miao just came out from a foreign's residence, and today she had also participated in a tea party. Those Furens had gradually accepted Shen Miao's excuse of influencing them, and Xie Jingxing said that the court was much more stable now. She rubbed her neck and was about to board the carriage when she saw a male and female walking out from a tea house at the other end of the street. That female had a veil over her face, and one could not see her face, but Shen Miao had dealt with her for a lifetime and was able to recognize that it was Yi Mei from her steps and posture. The male who was talking to Yi Mei seemed to have a very close relationship with her, but Shen Miao was very sharp. No matter if it was etiquette or style of doing things, it did not seem like a son of a noble family and revealed a vulgarity of a peddler. Perhaps he was a merchant or something. Shen Miao turned sideways, and the shadow of the carriage blocked her so that Yi Mei could not see her. That male spoke a few more words to Yi Mei, and even though he did not do anything out of line, the relationship between the two seemed to be extraordinary. Yi Mei quickly boarded the carriage and left, and the male turned and walked in another direction. Shen Miao thought about it and instructed Mo Qing, "Follow that male and inquire about everything that he can." Mo Qing had been secretly monitoring Yi Mei these days, and since this male had a relationship with Yi Mei, it was natural for Shen Miao to let him inquire. Mo Qing received the orders and left. Shen Miao sat in the carriage, but her heart started to ponder. That male did not seem to have a noble background, and Shen Miao was very clear of Yi Mei's character. She placed great importance on nobility and would not speak to commoners. Yet, she went to the tea house with this man, and perhaps even sat down and drank tea. Yi Mei could always make use of everyone around her, especially men. Shen Miao almost immediately thought that perhaps Yi Mei wanted to make use of this man to achieve some goal, or else with her arrogant heart, she would not even bother to talk to such a lowly man. What does she want to do? Yi Mei returned to the Yi mansion in the evening. Yi Maokai, who usually came back very late, was unexpectedly early in the mansion today. Seeing her come in, he stared at her and asked, "Where did you go?" Perhaps it was because of the predicament that the Yi family was facing these days that even Yi Maokai, who had always been like a fish in water, began to feel troubled. His calm and contented air of a scholar had disappeared, and even his amiable appearance began to become gloomy. Yi Mei composed herself and said, "Mother want me to go to the jewelry shop to pick some jewelry." "Mother?" Yi Maokai replied with a question. Yi Mei's heart was very unhappy with his eccentric tone. Yi Maokai clearly knew that he was not Yi Foreign's flesh and blood, but at the start he wanted Yi Mei to pretend to be her. Now, it was as if Yi Mei racked her brains to come to the Yi family to be a young lady. Chapter 1063. Seeing that Yi Mei did not speak, Yi Maokai asked again, "Jewelry?" Yi Mei said, "There was nothing that caught one's eye, so one did not pick. You are very self-aware and know that you cannot take things that are not yours." Yi Maocai's words had a hidden meaning and suddenly changed the topic. "Who was the male that you met on the streets today?" Yimei was surprised for a moment and immediately felt anger. Needless to say, it was definitely the actions of the Yi residence's guards that followed her. On the surface, those guards were protecting her safety, but in actual fact, it was not so. Instead, they were monitoring her and reporting her every move to Yi Maokai. Even so, Yimei did not dare to anger Yi Maokai and said, "It is a gentleman that I met in Qin province and had a deep relationship with my family. If father does not believe, you can send someone to investigate his background." Jin Mingxing was just a child of the Shang family, so even if Yi Maokai went to investigate, he would not be able to find anything. Yi Maokai saw that she was so calm, and his expression relaxed before saying, "Do not think that I do not care about feelings. It is just that there will soon be a big movement in Longyi City. Since you are the daughter of the Yi family, your every move will be seen by others. If this brings disaster to the Yi family, you and the Yi family will suffer." He then pretended to smile warmly. "Since you are a smart child, you should know what to do and what not to do. You and the Yi family are together, so naturally you have to help each other." When Yimei heard Yi Maocai's words, her heart sank and guessed that Yi Maokai was definitely using her to achieve something. She had a plan in her heart, and after a few perfunctory words with Yi Maokai, she then returned to her room. Upon returning to the room, she discovered that Yi Ku was already waiting in the room. Yi Ku saw that she had returned and smiled. "Older sister, where did you go today? Why did you only return now? I have waited for you for a long time." Yimei was upset and wanted to tell Yi Ku about Jin Mingxing. Initially in Qin province, Yi Ku actually hoped that Jin Mingxing would be his brother-in-law, as the Jin family could take care of the Li family. It was just that at that time, Yimei did not look up to Jin Mingxing, and Yi Ku persuaded her for a long time, saying that Jin Mingxing would treat her well. Now if she were to escape to Mingqi with Jin Mingxing, naturally Yi Ku would bring Yi Ku along. But Yimei could not predict Yi Ku's attitude. "Do you remember Jin Xingming from the Jin family in Qinzhou?" "Jin Xingming?" Yi Ku looked at her suspiciously. "Yes. Why did you suddenly mention him?" Suddenly, she thought of something and was shocked. She stood up and said, "Sister, don't tell me you've suddenly thought it through and want to marry him now." Yimei frowned. "Didn't you like him at first? We used to be merchants, but now we are officials." Yi Ku said, "Sister, with your current status, how can Jin Xingming send you? A merchant family marrying an official's daughter. If this gets out, I'm afraid people will laugh their heads off." He seemed very excited. Yimei looked at him for a while and asked, "Then who do you think I should marry?" "Not Yi He. Jin, with Mei He Mei. He Jin is said. With Prince." He moved closer mysteriously and said with a smile, "Actually, father wants you to enter the palace. I've seen it for you. The emperor is young and handsome and is cold to the empress. If you enter the palace with your beauty and talent, one fear that the 6 palaces will be in your pocket. At that time, you and I, sister and brother, will be rich and powerful." Yi Ku's eyes shone as he spoke, as if he was yearning for the future, like a person who had dug for a long time and finally saw a treasure. "Oh." Yimei looked at him. "You really think so? Older sister, when did you become so unconfident?" Yi Ku patted his chest and said, "Believe me, you will definitely become the most distinguished woman in Great Liang. So listen to father and enter the palace. Father will not harm you. After entering the palace, there is still the Yi family behind you. If this is not a great thing, what is it?" Yimei smiled, but that smile was somewhat strange. She said, "Second younger brother, these days you seem to be very busy. Can you tell older sister what you are busy with?" "Father is planning to find an official position for me in Longyi." Yi Ku's eyebrows danced as he said, "These days he is bringing me around to see colleagues." Just as he finished speaking, he suddenly realized something and stopped talking. He looked at Yimei with some panic. Yimei's expression did not change as she nodded and said, "So it is like that." Chapter 1064. So that's how it is. Yi Ku carefully looked at Yimei. Seeing that Yimei didn't seem to have any special reaction, he sighed in relief. He probed, "Yeah, do you feel it's not good?" "Not good." Yimei looked at him in astonishment and then laughed. "What's wrong with that?" After entering the palace, It'll be a life of glory and splendor, a life of riches and splendor. Do you think I'm so stupid that I'd give away the riches and splendor that are within my reach? She said, I originally wanted to marry someone with a high position. The emperor is the noblest person in the world. There is naturally nothing bad about being the emperor's woman. As she spoke, Yume regained her flirtatious appearance from before, as if she agreed with what Yika said. Seeing this, Yika clapped his hands and said with a smile, I told you. Father was afraid that you wouldn't agree before and wanted me to persuade you. I knew that he was making an unnecessary move. Such a good thing, Jie will naturally agree. You're not an idiot. How can you refuse? He relaxed and actually revealed the reason why he came to persuade Yimei on Yi Mao Cai's orders. Yimei's eyes flashed, and she said with a smile, Father probably doesn't understand me, but you are my deity. Don't you understand me? Jie, say, if you enter the palace and receive the emperor's favor, don't forget me, your deity. Yika said, now that Father has brought me into the officialdom, with the help of you, my path will only become smoother. Maybe the people of Long Yi will listen to us siblings. At that time, we will get wind, we will get rain, we will be very proud. As to that nuisance Empress, she's just a decoration. Right now, even that Jing Fei who is pregnant with the dragon seed is gone. If you enter the palace, who in the palace can be your match? It will be smooth sailing. Yume also smiled. Naturally so. Yika seemed to be very satisfied with Yimei's guarantee and finally resolved his worries. After talking for a while, he excitedly discussed with Yimei how he should walk his path of officialdom before leaving. After Yika left, Yimei's expression became cold. It was not surprising that Yi Mao Cai had bought over Yi Ku so quickly. What Yiku had hoped for the most in his life was to hold power in his hands and summon the wind and summon the rain. Yi Mao Cai drew a picture for Yi Ku, and Yi Ku was moved. This was enough for Yi Ku to sacrifice his sister. Moreover, in Yi Ku's eyes, entering the palace to be the emperor's woman was probably a good thing that could not be asked for, but he did not know that there was danger at every step. This was because Emperor Yong Lu was too difficult to control, and there was also the clear-headed Prince Ray watching from the side. Yi Ku and Yi Mei were the same. They were both extremely selfish people. When faced with their own interests, brotherly affection was nothing. Thinking about it, if Yi Ku knew that Yi Mei going to be the emperor's woman was not that good, he would not change his mind because his own career was more important. But how could Yi Mei be willing to pave the way for Yi Ku? After Yi Ku left, Yi Mei stood up and paced around the room twice, which made her look a little anxious. But she also understood that Yi Ku was now her enemy in some ways. She thought for a long time and finally stood up as if she had made up her mind, but she opened the box in the room. That was the tens of sets of clothes that Madame Yi had made for her when she came back. They were all fashionable styles, and the material was also the best. Yi Mei squatted down in front of the box and began to seriously choose. On the other side, Shen Miao also heard the news that Mo Qing had said. Jin Xingming. Shen Miao asked with a frown. Other than his identity as the son of a shop, there is nothing special about him. Mo Qing said, but he suddenly came to Long Yi from Qingzhou. He seemed to be dealing with a few businesses, all of which were the Jin family's long-term businesses. To deal with it like this, it indicates that the Jin family will not accept any business in the next few years. Chapter 1065. Not planning to accept business? Jingzhi could not help but ask, then what to eat? It seems that he is preparing to leave. Shen Miao muttered, then is there any news that Jin Xingming has recently left? Mo Qing was startled for a moment before saying, Foreign's guess is correct. He also sold some things and converted them into banknotes. It seems that he is going on a long journey and had prepared a large amount of money. Shen Miao understood. Go and check again to see if this Jin Xingming has any recent connections with anyone. Also some clothes that he prepared. Clues can be seen as to where he is going and the things that he prepared for travel. A short journey is still a long journey. The northern land is still the southern country. If there are people that are close to him, pay more attention. Also, do not relax the investigation on Yimei's siblings. If Jin Xingxing and Yimei have private dealings, one must follow. Mo Qing received the orders and left. Jing Zhe and Gu Yu were sewing clothes under the lamp when Gu Yu said, "Foreign, but what relationship does that Yi family's young lady have with the son of a merchant? Could it be that she is fond of that young Master Jin, so she did not even care about the other's merchant identity and insisted on being together with him?" Shen Miao gently smiled and shook her head. "Do you know about rattan grass?" "This servant knows." When Jingzhe heard it, she quickly said, "When this servant lived in the countryside, there were rattan grass everywhere in the courtyard. Once spring arrives, one must pull them out one by one. If they were not pulled out, they would entangle the other trees to death." Shen Miao said, "Yimei is very much like that rattan grass." Yimei was very much like rattan grass. This rattan grass had a strong vitality and was everywhere. The most important thing was that any man could become her tree, and she would rely on these trees to climb upwards, absorbing the sunlight and rain, growing tenaciously until she climbed to the tallest one. In the process of her growth, those trees would be entangled by her until they were exhausted of their nutrients and finally died. Jingzhe and Guyu looked at each other in dismay. After a long while, Jingzhe softly said, "Is she that powerful? This kind of rattan grass looks very strong at first glance, but there is a fatal characteristic." Shen Miao said, "Once her last tree dies, there would be no other things that could provide her with nutrients, and she would follow along. What to rely on will be the most miserable when it is finally taken away." She said, "There is no doubt that Yimei wanted something from Jin Xingming. As the son of a merchant, since he had finished his business everywhere and seemed to be leaving, it was obvious that Yimei wanted to board Xingming's boat and leave the abyss of the Yi family. But how would Shen Miao let her wish come true? Yimei's ending. This time let Shen Miao decide it for her. For a few days, Xie Jingxing did not return to the residence. Evatai, he was not around. When she asked Song Yang, he did not know anything. She felt that the guards in the Fu were even busier than usual. Not long after, a piece of news came from the capital. The former General Jinan, Lu Zhengchun, led his troops in rebellion. He stationed his troops in Ruyang City and occupied the city as a prison. He was officially opposing the royal family. This news shocked the people of Longyi. They had heard that Lu Zhengchun already had many soldiers under him. In addition, he had been secretly recruiting soldiers and buying horses for so many years, expanding his military strength. Ruyang City was vast to begin with, so it was surprising that he could occupy it so easily. The Lu family indeed had the courage to go against the royal family. The Shun family's guards that Shen Miao brought over were somewhat bewildered, but Shen Miao was neither fast nor slow. There was an ancient saying that first suppress, then raise. Most likely Xie Jingxing and Emperor Yongle wanted to do this. First, let the Lu family have a taste of sweetness. Lu Zhengchun, that kind of martial artist, would naturally feel that the imperial family was afraid of him and would lower their guard and become more arrogant. This would then allow the imperial family to make better arrangements and catch the Lu family in one fell swoop. Chapter 1066. Even though she had confidence in Xie Jingxing, Shen Miao did not think that the Lu family had the ability to contend against the Xie family. What Shen Miao was worried about was another matter. Although the Lu family was arrogant, they were only targeting the imperial family. In the eyes of the common people, the Lu family was just like the Xie family in the past. Even though it was a rebellion, the Lu family had their mouths. The first thing they said was that the imperial family had forced them to rebel. They even said that the death of Emperor Xiaowu had something to do with Emperor Yongle. They said that Empress Dowager Jingxian was a relative who monopolized power and conspired with Emperor Yongle and his mother to kill Emperor Xiaowu and the other princes. The world was in an uproar. It was true that when Emperor Xiaowu passed away, Empress Xiao dealt with the rest of the princes one by one in a thunderous manner. Naturally, she did not leave any evidence behind. But in the eyes of some people, it was strange. The common people were also like this, just that even though they had suspicions, they did not dare to speak it out. Afterwards, Empress Dowager Jing Xian passed away, and Emperor Yong Lu succeeded the throne. Under his rule, Great Liang prospered, so no one mentioned the past again. However, this did not mean that the people had completely forgotten about this matter. On the contrary, when the Lu family's words came out, after the commoners of the Great Liang were shocked, they started to hesitate. A small portion of the commoners really believed the Lu family's words, but the majority of the commoners were skeptical. However, if an emperor could not make the people submit to him, it would always be a disaster in the future. Just like Empress Xiao in the past, even though she did it cleanly and efficiently, she also brought trouble to Emperor Yongla. Even if Emperor Yong Lu used thunderous methods to shut the mouths of the commoners and cut off the rumors in the marketplace, there was still a path to walk. Was he going to use such methods to suppress the rumors for the rest of his life? The Lu family is really too shameless. Jingzhi said. They actually dared to splash dirty water onto the emperor. Guyu sighed. Since it is a rebellion, it is either you die or I live. What is the point of pouring a basin of dirty water? He continued. The Lu family is really ruthless. They want both sides to suffer, and they want to drag the royal family into this. Even if they win, they might not win the hearts of the people in the future. Shen Miao frowned and thought for a moment before saying, "Bring a pen and paper." She then walked to the table. Jingzhi was surprised for a moment before asking, "Foreign, want to write a letter back to Ming Qi?" Shen Miao shook her head. "I need a very big piece of paper, bigger than the notice of the prisoners at the city gates." Jingzhi and Guyu had seen Shen Miao's writing before. It was when she sent the letter to Ming Qi or when she sent the news to Pei Lang. It was just that at that time Shen Miao was calm and did not see anything wrong with it. But the Shen Miao today looked different. She was solemn, as if she was writing about something important that weighed more than 1,000 caddies. She was also agitated, reminding one of the older students in the Hamlin Academy who argued with a group of scholars. In the end, he wrote faster and faster. He practically didn't need to think, and he wrote fluently in one go. Putting down the brush, he picked up the huge piece of white paper with both hands and shook it, as if he wanted to shake it dry. Jingzhi and Guyu leaned over to take a look and saw that there were black words on that huge piece of white paper. Shen Miao's words were soft and mellow, but the words at the top had a hidden sharpness, as if a sharp sword was going to jump out from the paper and pierce into one's heart. What? What is this? The two maids were illiterate, but faintly felt that this was a very important thing. No one cares about the truth, Shen Miao said, but the result is very important. She dried the paper again and again until the ink was completely dry before she said to Jingzhi, "Bring this thing to the bookstore and make 3,000 copies. Then let the guard in the residence post it everywhere during the night." Shen Miao said, "Be quick. You're tuning in to the Romance Rendezvous YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.